GM everyone, welcome back to another episode of Touch Stress Podcast. We are back with an interesting one here with Matt from Decibel. Uh, if you guys remember, we've covered like a ton of Aptos projects in IBW week, and we really wanted to do one with Decibel guys, but we couldn't. But we finally managed to get them on. Welcome, Matt. How are you?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Thank you guys for having me. So it's nice to be here. Looking forward to this.
Awesome. Before we get into the decks and what you guys are building, could you give like a brief intro about you, your team, and how you got started with Decibel?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll give a quick brief about myself. Prior to this, I guess started my initial journey into kind of just building fun startups at 17. I kind of back in the day, I was working during my high school days. Realized that I wasn't a fan of school, wasn't very good at it, but I had a passion for building, and so I started my first startup, which was kind of a logistics, grocery marketplace platform that we had built out, and we'd kind of scaled that throughout London. Later on, kind of 2 years later, getting that acquired by a New York-based company, and so that was kind of my first real kind of thrill at building something from scratch, and essentially also, luckily even having gotten it acquired. So that was quite an achievement there, and really got me excited for wanting to build more. And so after that, I guess I transitioned a bit into real estate, into DevOps, IT, and kind of scaled and lived in Berlin, and was working for a startup there that eventually scaled to becoming, I guess, one of the largest real estate companies in Germany. We were probably 20 back then, and overnight we made an $8.2 billion acquisition, jumping from 20 employees to suddenly 400. And so suddenly on my hands, I was running an IT department with like 20 people at the age of like 19. So that was kind of crazy. And so that kind of taught me a lot about responsibilities, about being organized, about managing teams, and scaling products. And that was, I guess, really, really fun. But I guess what I disliked about it was this kind of desk job mentality. And so at that point, I decided that it was time for me to transition to Web3. And so I went onto the market looking for something, and I stumbled across a centralized exchange based in London. And so that was kind of my first entry into working for an exchange. And that was more of a BD growth role, at which point then it transitioned to RabbitX, which is where I was kind of CEO, head of product, managing the back-end and front-end engineers, and kind of day-to-day operations on the development side of things. And then now transitioned into Decibel, which is now my head of ecosystem role. And so what was funny, I guess, about this is that I transitioned from a centralized exchange to a semi-decentralized exchange to now a fully decentralized exchange. So I've really been through the whole scope of it all, and so it's quite funny to see the transition.
It's the crypto journey. You've lived through all of it.
Exactly.
Matt, let's talk about it. How different is it? Like, do you have any differences in experience working for a centralized exchange or working for Decibel now? Like, how has the industry evolved, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is transparency. People have wanted more transparency and honesty. I think that centralized exchanges just haven't been giving to their users, and there's always been kind of these black boxes that these exchanges operate from. And I think people are realizing that, especially on the 10/10 event that caused the cascade of liquidations. And so at this point in time, I think people just want a true, honest exchange that they can deposit on and see everything on chain and just have a trustless system. I guess that's kind of the transition that I saw working for a centralized exchange, where in fact there were a lot of shady things going on, versus now Decibel, where absolutely everything is on chain and verifiable, through just your orders, through your referrals, through absolutely everything. So I guess that's probably the biggest shift.
Awesome. Matt, like me and Rachit, we've been, using perp exchanges for a long time. I've been using Hyperliquid, I think, since pretty much since season one. I've used Lighter, I use Ostium, Variational, all these two, sometimes actually use them as my venues and sometimes to farm stuff. So I've kind of seen different exchanges throughout the whole, this kind of boom with perps. Talk to me about what's different with Decibel. What are you guys trying to differentiate yourselves? Because there's so many variations of exchanges coming out, and you building on Aptos, what's kind of stands out?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the kind of key value props that Decibel has over others is, this kind of institutional grade DNA. So, and I think I've mentioned this before, where we're not just this group of devs. Our core team essentially, has had over 30 years of this combined experience managing the likes of these enormous portfolios. Some exceeding, for example, 500 million AUM. They've operated at the highest levels of like this global investment banks, top tier crypto exchanges, from forex to equities to complex derivatives. We've taken kind of this big bank expertise in risk and execution and have now hard coded it into this decentralized protocol that is Decibel. I guess another thing is this kind of risk first philosophy where most platforms kind of focus on their growth, and growth is like everything that they spend on. And so, but for us, it's more prioritization on capital preservation, which I think a lot of exchanges fail and don't understand. It's very costly to run an exchange. And so it's good to be capital preserving. And so we operate under this kind of multi-layer risk framework that is far more sophisticated than what you'd see elsewhere. So we have, for example, this conservative leverage where we maintain these buffers well below exchange minimums to kind of avoid these cascade liquidations that have plagued other dexes. We have these sophisticated safeguards, automated circuit breakers, drawdown limits, correlation adjusted risk controls that kind of automatically de-risk the system during extreme market stress. I guess we also had asset tiering, where we don't treat every token the same way. We have kind of this 4-tier classification system that applies stricter limits and wider spreads to riskier long tail assets to basically protect the protocol solvency. What else? I guess another thing, which I guess is a big question, is kind of around ADL. ADL is obviously a big issue. On most platforms, ADL feels, like I said, like this black box that hits you without warning. And so another thing at Decibel is we've engineered kind of this 3-layer defense to make sure ADL is strictly a last resort. And I think that's something that we're also quite transparent about, and kind of have really spent a lot of time thinking about. One is, for example, during kind of a flash crash, we have deep order book liquidity. First, we issue kind of this margin call to reduce positions. Our DLP, which is our market making vault, quotes deep order books to ensure these calls execute at fair prices rather than just crashing the market, which had happened on 1010. Then if that doesn't work, we have a backstop liquidator, which is the BLP. And so what happens is if the order book, for example, can't absorb the size, our backstop vault steps in as like this professional shock absorber, taking the at-risk positions onto its own books to protect protocol solvency. And then really, if everything else fails, ADL only like triggers if the backstop reaches its limit. But the difference here between our ADL and others is we're calling it transparent ADL, where unlike other dexes, our ADL is completely deterministic and on-chain. So it targets, for example, only the most profitable, highest leverage positions first. So you always know exactly why and how it's happening. So I guess those are some, I can keep going on, but I guess those are some kind of high level value props that the Decibel has over others.
Of course, I think we can kind of see why the whole ADL and circuit breakers are really important. We have seen this on Hyperliquid when on 1010 that's happening. It was pretty in terms of like they got executed at better price, but that was one of kind of edge case. And even recently, when on Lighter, when they were then when they launched their Korean equities or these other exotic stocks that are not really available even to the US market. There's like these crazy moves of 20-30%, and you kind of get pretty much wiped out if you're on the wrong side of the trade. And the problem is also regarding educating people on what ADL is. I still don't think people really understand what it is,
Bro,
and
I
how.
don't think I understand it completely. Like, Matt, like I love the explanation, but I'm gonna have to read into this a lot more and listen to this back to actually understand like TADL versus ADL. I think KG, one thing that's also really important, Matt, like, we've been talking about the perp angle here a lot, like based on everything that I've used, like Decibel is destined to be more than just the perp decks. What is like the full suite of this product stack?
The full suite of this product stack. So I guess it taps into a couple different angles. Right now, what we have and what we're going to be launching on day one is our DLP, our market making vault, that is kind of being operated through our kind of internal prop desk or through an internal prop desk team. So there's that will provide a pretty hefty APY to users who just want to sit on yield and just earn on yield. Then we're also going to have a couple major markets that are going to be majors initially will be listed on the exchange. We have isolated cross-margin support on day one. We have sub-accounts support. We have various different advanced order types, such as, for example, TWAP. Those are, for example, some examples. Then we also have upcoming, I guess, roadmap features such as multi-collateral, spot. We have diversified asset listings, such as RWAs, and various other asset classes such as commodities, forex, pre-IPOs, stocks. And so that's obviously a very exciting arm that we're looking forward to launching kind of ahead of kind of late Q1 into Q2. But I think ultimately one of the most exciting parts is in kind of conjunction with multi-collateral and our tokenized vaults. Our vaults are unique in that what happens is, for example, when I compare ourselves to liquid or lighter, their LPs or HLPs, what happens is when you have capital, you deposit into their vault, and then that's capital that's essentially locked up. You can't trade with it. And so with us launching multi-collateral and with our vaults being tokenized, you're going to be able, with some sort of risk factor or risk ratio that we assign to that token for our vault, you'll be able to now also trade with that token. So that's no longer capital that's been siloed just into this vault. You can now essentially also keep on trading with it while still passively earning yield through the DLP. So it's I guess our big slogan and motto here is capital efficiency. We want Decibel to be the most capital efficient platform to trade on, where you don't have to fragment liquidity on various different exchanges because one exchange offers spot, one exchange offers multi-collateral. We want to be the house, the home where traders can come and truly execute all their strategies on just one platform without having to fragment liquidity. And I guess those are the key value props and upcoming features that we're quite excited about.
100%. I think it's pretty cool because a lot of these exchanges have this multi-collateral feature and entire margin going live many months into mainnet or many months after launching. So it's cool that you guys have it pretty much on day one. And I think everyone would love to know, and be something that we wanted to kind of understand, is because Aptos, is very well known for DeFi, money markets, all on that side of things. So why choose Aptos for building a perps exchange? What's like the technical reason? Is there any community angle as well? How is it like been building on Aptos?
Yes, it's been interesting. So we chose to build on Aptos because Aptos facilitated kind of this sex performance that no other kind of chain can truly compete with. It's like, for example, stats such as sub 20 millisecond millisecond matching. They are able to support 1 million plus orders per second throughput. It's the fact that we have the core engineers, for example, of Move working on Decibel at an infrastructure like an L1 level where we're able to make core or we're basically able to make core fundamental architecture changes or infrastructure changes to the L1 to support Decibel's product stack and kind of features to accommodate for scale, speed, transparency, but also some pretty unique features that just wouldn't be possible elsewhere. So let me give you a good example, right? It's as if Drift, right, that's fully on chain, was able to change the infrastructure or the core architecture of Solana. They can't do that. The fact that we're working directly with Aptos on Decibel means we have full freedom to change these completely like rooted architecture of the move language of Aptos to accommodate for Decibel scale and I guess vision. And so one example here could be, for example, something that I'm quite excited about, which is called event-driven transactions. And so what this basically means, and again, this is maybe a bit of alpha, but we haven't really announced too much of this because it's still in the works. But event-driven transactions will mean that we'll be able to, for traders to come onto Decibel, open up, for example, a Solana position, and then create, for example, a stop loss that can be deterministic on the price of BTC. So you could, for example, say that if BTC hits, I don't know, $64,000, close my Solana position. Or if there's a percentage move on another market, open up a position. And it just opens up a huge new subset of strategies that traders can now run that just aren't possible elsewhere. And so that's really why we chose to build on Aptos.
And that makes a lot of sense. Like I've been thinking a lot about this in terms of like how prediction markets have influence on traders. Like if you think about the Trump election, a lot of people had theses on whether, if Trump got elected, what would happen to Bitcoin? If Harris got elected, what would happen to Bitcoin? I think this could be like a great proxy way to sort of start that off. I'm pretty sure you and the team are thinking a lot more about how to integrate the prediction markets angle in this as well. I do want to sort of, shift gears a little bit. I do want to ask you about the pre-deposit campaign that was launched recently. So I think it's only been like 2 or 3 weeks right now. Like maybe let's talk a little bit about the pre-deposit campaign. And what I was really, really, pleasantly surprised to see, like even though we're in a market downturn, the traction has been immense towards Decibel. Talk us through like the pre-deposit campaign, how the team's feeling about it, what's next, and everything there.
So pre-deposits obviously has been absolutely amazing for us internally. We've been chuffed with the results. It's only been launched for 8 days, so not even 2 weeks. And we've already raised $55 million right now. I believe that's where the stand is currently at. And hopefully by the end of it, we have another week to go. So we're expecting to hopefully reach our target of anywhere between $60 to $70 million. So again, like you said, in these market conditions, we weren't really given a great time to launch this, but despite that, we still managed, I think, to raise a substantial amount. But not only that, I think what's also really important to note here is the amount of also unique wallets that participated in the pre-deposits. I think we're sitting now at 8,000 unique wallets that participated in the pre-deposit. So that alone is a huge metric for us to be proud of. And then on top of that, what's also interesting is just the locations of where we've kind of been able to understand a bit more. This has really given us, I guess, more insight into the geographic regions that we should potentially double down on. And so I think some of them might have been obvious, but there were others that really took us a bit by surprise. For example, Japan, just the sheer amount of independent, I guess, deposits or wallets or users that came from that region was far more than what we had expected. And so it's analytics that really help us to further scale and understand our user base. So it's quite exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, I think people are just trying to, we are pretty much out of good dexes to kind of be early to. So at least instead of just going and chasing different exchanges on one chain, they're trying to maybe find the venue for Aptos right now, which I expect it to be. Uh,
I think,
Another, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, not to cut you off here, but I think that's an interesting point because most like main perp dexes right now are like close to TGing, right? So it's like an obvious move. It's like now everyone's asking the question, okay, well, where's the next logical play? Where should we now be looking at? And I think what we're really trying to position and I think market is Decibel truly is the next play here. With the amount of incentives that are being given out, the reliability of the product that we've now built. It's by a proven team that has shipped out numerous different products, and I guess that is kind of as well what we're trying to ship to our users and understand that it's even participation now in pre-deposits. Going back to the pre-deposit question of why would someone want to come and deposit now into our pre-deposits? Well, the answer to that is we're calling it season zero. And so season zero is for our core believers that really believed in Decibel, and they will be rewarded down the line. Kind of before we TGE, there might be some special rewards for people who participated in pre-deposits. So I think that's also a bit of alpha that we've been sharing throughout the spaces. And I think that has helped bring a few more users to come and deposit.
100%. We should do it ourselves as well. Builder codes. This has been super popular with Hyperliquid. They have a ton of front ends. Lighter has kind of rolled out that as well. Not many examples, but Hyperliquid has been the one that's super successful with the builder codes. Decibel is also having a similar version of that. Could you talk about, like, I already see that there are some early projects, kind of building on top of Decibel as well. I see that you have done some spaces with them. Yeah, what are some early projects building on top of it, and and is there any difference in terms of builder codes from other dexes, or yeah, what are some thoughts there?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that is important to mention is why a builder why a builder code so important for an exchange to become successful. Builder codes basically turn contribution into this compounding growth engine where more integrations bring more users, which then bring more liquidity, which then bring more earnings. It's this beautiful flywheel effect that later on can also help with buybacks of the token. And so that's a clear play that, for example, Hyperliquid has been doing, and it's massively contributed to their revenue and also fees that they've been earning, right, on the protocol. And so for us, it's a very similar model to Hyperliquid's, just that we have liquidity up for grabs, that we aren't necessarily asking builders to have to buy a huge amount of hype to stake to tap into our liquidity. We have incentives as kind of a carrot to dangle to their users to attract more users through campaigns. So these are maybe short-term things, but we also have a very open and accessible and well-written SDK and APIs that our builders can tap into. We're opening it up more to also AI agents to basically independently come and start building as well on top of Decibel. And with it as well, we're hoping to try and attract, I think, not only talent that is already within the Aptos ecosystem, which I think you've seen through the project that we've onboarded recently, but also start massively pushing to external ecosystem projects and reeling them back into kind of the Aptos ecosystem, but also on top of Decibel. And so some key projects that, for example, are already going to be launching with us on day one. So we're calling them our launch projects. We have Copin for analytics. We have Panora for kind of perps. We have RNDM or random for kind of more vaults that are run by agents and kind of very high performing arbitrage vaults. We have Yield AI, which is kind of like a debank, but where you can also still do actions and manage your portfolio. We have Pulse Trader, which is AI trading. So, connect your wallet and let the AI basically run strategies on top of your account. We have Tap, which is another exchange. We have Samosa, which is a Telegram bot. Goblin, which is around kind of multiplying the DLP commitment so you can lend and borrow and basically provide more capital and more TVL to Decibel. And there's a couple more. There's more, for example, who's working into AI, but there's more on that, the announcement that will come out soon. And there's quite a few others that we're right now in talks with, roughly another 10 to 15 projects. So it's like we have a pretty strong launch, not only with day one projects, but also upcoming additional projects that I think will be playing out in the coming weeks.
Matt, is there a project that is not being built on top of Builder codes that you really want to see? So for context, we do have a small segment of our audience with like up and coming devs who build cool stuff. Any RFP for them?
So I think two core things that we would love to look at and consider are kind of these GameFi apps, and then also a true native kind of mobile retail trading kind of experience. Those are two niches that we would love to have a couple more projects building on top of Decibel to cover a couple different angles. And so if those builders in your community or you have contacts to, feel free to reach out to me directly, Average Nomad or kind of Mr. Brown on X. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we do actually. I think we have someone who has built something similar for Lighter, I think. Right, Rajat? I think it is Suraj. Someone.
Yeah,
Uh,
Bright Side. They essentially
right.
build. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, awesome, man. I think this was awesome, but I think everyone would love to know. I think we talked about pre-deposit, and that was only for 2 weeks, which is I think coming to an end, I believe. Uh, so what's next? What's next, and when is mainnet? When are you guys planning to launch? Because I know that so many teams are on the edge when it comes to any big launches during these markets. But personally, I believe these are like the best times for projects to launch. But yeah, when is mainnet?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, it's funny that you say it's the best time to launch in these market conditions, and I full-heartedly agree with you. It's and I reflect back on my days of Hyperliquid, because Hyperliquid kind of launched as well at like a bearish time, or at least when I started trading on it, and I immediately associated Hyperliquid as a project where I made money on, because it was trading on them. So when you feel this gratification of a platform making money, you end up being sticky for Decibel. We're launching on February 26th. So literally, 5 days now to go. So it's coming up. And with us kind of being in this pico bottom of the barrel, maybe close to the pico bottom, we are anticipating users to hopefully make some good amounts of money on Decibel. The fact that most users tend to go long anyway, that hopefully they go long on Decibel now. There's not much kind of low. We can't go much lower, hopefully. So hopefully they'll associate Decibel as the lucky exchange to come trade on, and we're very much looking forward to launching and also, I guess, running our first trading competition on February 26th.
Awesome. I'll definitely be part of that. But yeah, thank you so much, Matt, for your time today, and excited to see you guys launch. And maybe we'll have you on again once you guys mainnet goes live, and maybe towards TG. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Yeah.